The station was alive with noise and motion. Ships arrived and departed every hour, and traders called out their prices as people hurried through the wide metallic corridors. Ryan moved through it all with the steady patience of someone used to this life. He worked as a mechanic on the lower docks, fixing ships, repairing engines, and sometimes building small machines that others would pay a few credits for. His hands were strong from long hours of labor, and his clothes carried the faint smell of oil and heated metal. Ryan liked his work, though he often felt invisible among the crowds. People came and went, carrying stories of distant stars, but he always stayed in the same place. He was just a station worker, someone nobody looked at twice. That thought never bothered him much until the night he met her. It began when he noticed a figure struggling with a small communicator near the trade hall. The device sparked with a sharp blue flash, and the woman holding it muttered something under her breath in a language he did not recognize. Her hood covered most of her face, but even in the dim light, there was something unusual about her. The way she stood, the way she looked around with cautious eyes, it felt out of place. Too graceful for the loud, dirty station. Ryan paused. He could have walked on. Most travelers had their own problems, and he had his next job waiting. But something made him step closer. "Need help with that?" he asked. The woman turned her head, and for a moment, he caught a glimpse of her face. Her eyes were bright, with a strange silver glow that reflected the neon lights above. Her features were sharper than most humans, delicate yet strong, and her voice carried a smooth tone when she answered, "I believe it is broken. This communicator is supposed to connect across systems, but it stopped working when I arrived." Ryan extended his hand. "I can take a look. I fix things for a living." She studied him for a breath, then handed the device over. Ryan turned it in his hands, noticing the sleek design unlike anything built on the station. It was alien, far beyond the rough human tech he worked on daily. Still, machines spoke a universal language, and he began to search its circuits. "You are human," she said, her tone curious rather than rude. "Yes," Ryan replied with a small smile. "Born here on the station. Not much of a story, and yet you offer help without knowing who I am." He shrugged. "Broken things deserve fixing. That is all." She tilted her head, almost as if she were not used to such a simple answer. Her hood slipped slightly, revealing more of her face, and Ryan felt his chest tighten. She was not just unusual, she was extraordinary. There was an elegance about her movements, a calm authority hidden beneath her disguise. A few minutes later, Ryan pressed a sequence on the device, and it lit up with a clear hum. He handed it back. "There, just a power flow misaligned. Should work fine now." The woman looked at the communicator, then at him. "You repaired it faster than the royal technicians at home." "Royal technicians?" Ryan raised an eyebrow, unsure if she was joking. She gave a small, amused smile. "I should not have said that." Before Ryan could ask more, the noise of heavy boots echoed from the far corridor. A group of guards in dark armor passed by, scanning the hall. The woman quickly pulled her hood lower and stepped closer to Ryan, her voice low. "Do not mention me to anyone," she said firmly. Ryan's instincts told him this was no ordinary traveler. He wanted to ask who she really was, but the way she looked at him, half commanding, half pleading, kept him silent. When the guards moved on, she relaxed slightly. For the first time, she allowed herself to truly meet his eyes. "You have shown kindness, human. I will remember this." Before Ryan could reply, she pressed a small coin into his hand. It glowed faintly, unlike any currency he had seen before. "For your help." He tried to give it back. "I don't need payment. I just fixed a tool." "Keep it," she insisted. "It is a mark, not only of thanks, but of trust." Then, as quickly as she appeared, she turned and walked into the crowd. Her hood hid her face again, and soon she was lost among the waves of travelers. Ryan stood there, staring at the strange coin in his palm. It felt heavier than it should, as if it carried meaning far beyond its size. He did not know her name. He did not know why she feared the guards, but something told him this was no random meeting. Later, as he returned to his workshop, the station lights seemed different. The endless noise of engines and voices no longer felt the same for the first time. Ryan wondered if his life on the docks was about to change. He did not realize that his path had already crossed with destiny in the quiet of his small room. Ryan placed the coin on the table and stared at it for a long time. He thought of her silver eyes, the calm strength in her voice, and the way she had said she would remember him. It was only one meeting, one moment among the countless days of his ordinary life, yet something inside him whispered that it was only the beginning. Ryan thought their meeting would end with that single moment. The woman with silver eyes had vanished into the crowd, leaving behind only the glowing coin. He carried it with him, hidden in a small pouch, and sometimes wondered if he had imagined her. Days passed, filled with the same routine: engines to repair, ships to check, tools to clean. Yet her face never left his thoughts. One evening, when the docks were quieter than usual, Ryan closed his workshop early and walked along the edge of the station's upper ring. The wide glass dome stretched above him, showing the endless black of space. Stars burned in silence, scattered like sparks across the darkness. He had always loved watching them, though he rarely had the time. To him, the stars were reminders that there was more than machines, more than endless repairs. Somewhere out there were worlds he would never see. As he leaned against the railing, he heard a voice behind him. You look at the stars as if they belong to you. Ryan turned sharply. The hooded woman stood only a few steps away. For a moment, he wondered if this was a dream. She had returned, as mysterious as before, her face half hidden in the shadows of the dome's lights. You, Ryan said in surprise. I thought I'd never see you again. Perhaps you were not meant to. She answered softly. Yet here I am. He studied her carefully. You are not a traitor, are you? And not just a traveler. She gave a quiet laugh. You see more than most. But tonight I do not wish to speak of duty or titles. Show me the station. Show me how you see the stars. Ryan hesitated. He did not understand her request. Yet something in her voice made it impossible to refuse. He gestured for her to follow. Together, they walked along the upper ring, where the dome gave wide views of the galaxy. Few people were there at this hour, so their steps echoed softly against the metal floor. What do you see when you look out there? She asked, pointing to the scattered lights in the distance. Ryan thought for a moment before answering. Possibility. Each one of those lights is a place. Maybe dangerous, maybe beautiful, maybe both. I'll never see most of them, but knowing there is enough. Humans always speak of possibility, she said, her silver eyes watching him. Your kind reaches for what cannot be touched. It is both foolish and admirable. And what do you see? Ryan asked. She was silent for a long time, her gaze fixed on the farthest star. I see duty. I see alliances and borders. To me, each star is a name, a family, a promise. It is heavy to look at them, not light as it seems to you. Ryan frowned. That sounds lonely. Perhaps it is. They stopped near a quieter corner of the dome. Beyond the glass, a nebula glowed faintly, its colors shifting like slow-moving fire. Alara, though she had not yet told him her name, lifted her hood slightly, letting the soft light touch her face. You humans do not know how rare your view is, she said. To see the sky and think of freedom, to look at the unknown and dream instead of fear. Ryan studied her. You talk like someone who has seen much more than me. I have, she admitted, and I envy you. The confession surprised him. He had never imagined anyone would envy his life of engines and metal floors. He laughed quietly. There is nothing special about me. I am just a mechanic. She shook her head gently. You see yourself too small. Sometimes, those who are not noticed carry the greatest strength. They stood in silence, watching the stars. Time seemed slower, stretched by the quiet wonder of the night. Ryan wanted to ask who she truly was, but he feared breaking the fragile peace between them. Instead, he asked something simpler. Would you like to see more? There's a service ladder that leads to the highest point of the dome. Most people don't bother with it, but it's the best view. Her eyes brightened. Show me. Ryan led her to a narrow passage, then climbed the ladder with her close behind. At the top, A small platform gave an almost complete view of space, as if they were floating among the stars themselves. No voices, no machines. Only the endless night and its burning lights. She drew in a sharp breath. It is beautiful. Ryan smiled. Yes, when I was a boy, I used to sneak up here and imagine. Flying away, I wanted to see every world. I thought maybe I could, if I wished hard enough. Do you still wish it? She asked. He hesitated. Sometimes, but I have work. People need me here. She turned her gaze from the stars to him. And if you had the chance to go, would you take it? Ryan did not answer at once. The truth was, he did not know. He had never been given the chance. Her expression softened, as though she understood his silence. For the first time, she let her hood fall completely, revealing her full face. The glow of the nebula reflected in her silver eyes, and Ryan finally saw her not as a stranger, but as someone extraordinary. Thank you, she said quietly, for showing me the stars through your eyes. I will remember this night. Something in her tone made Ryan's heart beat faster. He wanted to ask her name, but before he could, the sound of distant movement reached them. She pulled her hood back quickly, her calm composure returning. I must go, she said firmly. Wait, Ryan called as she moved toward the ladder. Will I see you again? She paused, then looked back. Her eyes lingered on him for a long moment. This was only one night, she whispered. Do not expect more. With that, she climbed down and vanished into the station's shadows once again. Ryan stood on the platform alone, staring at the stars. The air felt colder now, emptier. He told himself it was nothing, just a passing moment. Yet deep inside, he knew this night would not leave him. Her silver eyes, her words, her presence, they had left a mark stronger than any coin. And though she said it was only one night, Ryan felt certain that his life would never return to what it was before. The night of stars should have ended as a memory, but Ryan soon learned that memories could bring trouble. The following days began with the usual work. Ships arrived broken, their engines sputtering, and he fixed them with his steady hands. Traders shouted prices in the busy market. The station buzzed with its constant rhythm. Yet something had changed. Ryan felt eyes on him. At first, he thought it was only his imagination. The woman with silver eyes, whoever she truly was, had warned him not to speak of her. He had kept his silence, not even whispering her secret to the air. Still, the uneasy feeling grew. One afternoon, while he repaired a freighter's landing gear, two strangers appeared in his workshop. They wore plain coats, but their manner was too sharp, too watchful. One of them, a tall man with a scar across his cheek, spoke first. You are Ryan, the mechanic. Ryan wiped the oil from his hands and nodded. That's me. Need repairs? The man shook his head. We need answers. You were seen near the upper ring 3 nights ago. Who were you with? Ryan's heart tightened, but he kept his face calm. I was alone. I like watching the stars. The second stranger, shorter and heavier, narrowed his eyes. Not true. Witnesses say you were not alone. Ryan forced a shrug. Witnesses are wrong. I fix machines, not people's stories. The men exchanged a glance, then stepped closer. The scarred one leaned forward. If you are hiding something, it will not end well for you. Think carefully. Ryan met his gaze without flinching. I think you've come to the wrong place. Now, if you're not here for repairs, I suggest you leave. I have work. For a tense moment, the air felt heavy. Then the 2 men turned and walked out, though not without throwing him one last suspicious look. When they were gone, Ryan let out a slow breath. His hands trembled slightly, though he clenched them into fists to hide it. Whoever the silver-eyed woman was, powerful people were searching for her. And now, because of one night, they were searching for him too. That evening, Ryan left his workshop and walked through the crowded trade hall. The smell of food, the noise of haggling, and the hum of engines filled the air. Yet he noticed the same 2 strangers watching from a corner. Their presence was a shadow that followed him wherever he went. He returned to his small room and locked the door. Sitting at the table, he pulled out the glowing coin she had given him. Its strange light pulsed faintly, as if alive. He wondered if it was the reason the strangers had found him. He wondered if it was more than just a token of thanks. As he turned it in his hand, a knock came at the door. His heart raced. He slid the coin back into its pouch and opened the door carefully. It was her. The woman stood there, hood drawn low, her silver eyes glinting in the dim light. She stepped inside quickly as if she feared being seen. "You should not be here," Ryan whispered. "Nor should you be in danger because of me," she replied, her voice calm but heavy. "The ones who search for me are persistent. Have they spoken to you?" Ryan nodded. "Two men. They asked about that night. I told them nothing." "Good," she said softly. "But silence alone may not protect you." Ryan frowned. "Who are they? And who are you really?" For a moment, she did not answer. Then she lifted her hood, revealing her full face once again. "My name is Alara. I am daughter of the High Regent of the Luminous Dominion." Ryan stared at her in shock. The Luminous Dominion was one of the largest powers in the sector, a name spoken with both fear and respect. To think the woman he had helped was not only from that realm, but of royal blood, it was almost impossible to believe. "You are a princess," Ryan said slowly. "Yes," she admitted, "and because of that, my every step is watched. My family has enemies, even within our own dominion. The men who seek me are agents of those rivals. They want to use me as a weapon against my father's rule." Ryan rubbed his forehead. "And now they think I know something?" Her eyes softened. "You showed me kindness when you had no reason to. I will not let them harm you for it." Ryan gave a small laugh, though it carried no humor. "I am a mechanic, Alara. I fix ships, not fight secret wars." "Sometimes," she replied gently, "the greatest strength lies in those who do not seek power. That is why they fear you may be more than you seem." Before Ryan could respond, the lights in his room flickered. A faint hum rose through the floor, followed by a distant crash. Alara's head snapped toward the door. "They are here," she whispered. The sound of boots echoed in the corridor. Voices barked orders. Sharp and cold, Ryan's pulse quickened. He grabbed a small wrench from the table, the only weapon he had. "We need to leave," Alara said firmly. "How?" Ryan asked. "They're at the door." She touched the glowing coin. It pulsed brighter, and a hidden seam opened in its center, revealing a tiny holographic map of the station. She pointed to a narrow maintenance route that cut beneath the floors. "Through there. It is dangerous, but safer than facing them now." Ryan hesitated, then nodded. He trusted her more than the men outside. Together, they slipped through a side panel in the wall, crawling into the dark passage. The smell of metal and dust filled the air, and the narrow space forced them close as they moved. Behind them, his door crashed open. Voices filled the room, searching. But the passage carried them deeper into the station's hidden layers, away from the guards. At last, they emerged near the docking bay, where small transport pods waited for workers. Alara placed her hand on the glowing coin again, and the nearest pod unlocked with a hiss, quickly. She urged. Ryan climbed in, still gripping the wrench. Alara followed, sealing the door behind them. The pod powered up, and with a sharp jolt, it launched into the service tunnels, carrying them away from pursuit. Ryan looked at her, his mind still racing. "Why me? Why come back to me when you knew it would bring trouble?" Alara met his eyes, her silver gaze steady. "Because one night with you showed me something I have never seen before. Trust without demand. Kindness without reason. I could not leave that behind." Ryan had no answer. Outside the pod's small window, the stars blurred as they sped through the tunnels. He knew nothing would ever be simple again. The unwanted attention had begun, and it was only the start. The small transport pod glided through the maintenance tunnels, carrying Ryan and Alara away from danger. The hum of the engines echoed in the narrow space, steady but sharp, like a heartbeat reminding them of their escape. Ryan sat with his wrench still in his grip, his knuckles white from holding it too tightly. Across from him, Alara looked calm, though her eyes carried the weight of many unspoken thoughts. When the pod slowed to a stop at a hidden docking platform, Alara stood first. "We are safe for now," she said. Ryan exhaled, finally lowering his wrench. "Safe for now," he repeated. "That does not sound very comforting." Alara gave a faint smile. Comfort is rare for someone like me. You should not be caught in this. Ryan shook his head. It is too late for that. They already came to my workshop. They already know my name. If this is trouble, I am already inside it. Her eyes softened as she studied him. Then I owe you more than thanks. The platform connected to another corridor, quieter and dimmer than the rest of the station. They moved carefully, keeping to the shadows. Every sound of boots or clanking machinery made Ryan tense. He was used to engines and tools, not being hunted. Yet Alara walked with the grace of someone born into danger, her steps silent, her face steady-eyed. At last, they reached a storage chamber filled with old cargo containers. Alara pushed one aside, revealing a hidden compartment behind it. Inside were supplies, cloaks, a data pad, and a small case of food and water. You planned this, Ryan said. Surprised, I had to, Alara answered. I knew if I stepped outside the palace walls, they would follow me. I hid these in case I needed to run. She sat on a crate and pulled back her hood fully, revealing her silver eyes in the dim glow. For a moment, she looked less like a princess and more like someone simply tired of being chased. Ryan sat across from her, still gripping the wrench, though more out of habit than fear now. Why come back to me? He asked quietly. You could have hidden anywhere. You could have gone to someone with real power. Alara shook her head. Power's the problem. Those with power want to use me for their own gain. But you? She paused, her voice softening. You saw me as no one else has. You treated me as if I were simply another person. That is rare in my life. That is why I returned. Ryan blinked, unsure how to answer. He was just a mechanic. And yet this woman, this princess, spoke to him as though his view of her mattered more than the opinions of nobles and lords. You think too highly of me, he said at last. I think honestly of you, she replied. Firmly. The chamber fell quiet, filled only by the faint hum of the station's systems. Ryan leaned back against the wall, staring at the ceiling. So what happens now? You cannot stay hidden here forever. And if your enemies are on the station, they will not stop searching. Alara was silent for a long time. Then she said, I must return. To my people, to my family. If I run too long, they will believe I am weak, and weakness invites attack. But I cannot return without facing those who seek to control me. Ryan frowned. That sounds like walking into danger. It is, she admitted. But it is also my duty. And now, because you are caught in this, it is also yours. Ryan laughed softly, though there was no humor in it. I never asked for that, neither did I, she said gently, yet here we are. Their eyes met, and for the first time, Ryan saw not only strength in her gaze but also trust. She trusted him, a station mechanic, more than the countless powerful people who surrounded her in her own world. The thought made his chest tighten. Before he could respond, the sound of movement echoed outside the chamber. Alara stood quickly, pulling her hood over her head again. Ryan gripped his wrench tightly and moved closer to the door. The footsteps passed without stopping. Fading into the distance, they both exhaled in relief. Your enemies are everywhere, Ryan muttered. Alara nodded. Yes, and that is why I cannot let you go now. They will use you if they find you. I must keep you close. Even if it brings more risk. Ryan raised an eyebrow. Keep me close? That sounds more like an order than a choice. Her lips curved into the faintest smile. Perhaps it is both. That night, they rested in the storage chamber. Alara kept watch while Ryan slept, though he woke more than once to see her sitting silently, her silver eyes reflecting the glow of the datapad as she read reports of her enemy's movements. She looked like someone who carried the weight of entire worlds on her shoulders, yet she bore it without complaint. When morning came, Ryan found her standing near the hidden compartment, preparing to move again. She turned as he stirred. Are you ready? She asked. Ryan rubbed his eyes. Ready for what? To stand with me, she said simply. He stared at her, still half asleep. I told you. I am just a mechanic. I do not belong in this. You belong where you choose, she replied firmly, and right now. Your choice matters more than you know. Will you walk away, or will you stand with me? Ryan looked at her for a long time. He thought of his workshop, of the engines waiting for repairs of the life he had always known. But he also thought of the night under the stars, of her voice when she said she envied his freedom, of the trust in her silver eyes. At last, he sighed. If I say yes, I will regret it. If I say no, I will regret it even more. So yes, I will stand with you. Alara smiled, a rare and genuine smile that softened her features. Then we face what comes together. Ryan did not know what battles lay ahead, nor what dangers would follow. But in that moment, sitting in a forgotten corner of the station with a princess who refused to let him go, he felt something stronger than fear. He felt a beginning. The decision to stand with Alara weighed heavily on Ryan's mind, but there was no turning back. From the moment he agreed, his life as a quiet mechanic had ended. He no longer belonged only to the docks and the engines. Now, he was tied to a princess, to her enemies, and to a dangerous path that stretched far beyond the station walls. For 2 days, Ryan and Alara hid in forgotten corners of the station. They moved from one safe place to another, never staying too long, always alert for the sound of boots or the hum of search drones. Ryan was not used to such a life. His hands were made for tools, not weapons. Yet every time he thought about leaving, he remembered her words, "I cannot let you go now." On the third night, the hunt found them. They had just left a hidden corridor when a sharp light cut through the shadows. Voices shouted from behind, and the sound of metal feet echoed against the walls. Armed pursuers filled the hall, their faces hidden behind black helmets. "Run," Alara ordered. Grabbing Ryan's arm, they sprinted through the narrow passageways, weaving through crowds of traders and workers. Alarms blared as the guards pushed past civilians, forcing them aside in their chase. Ryan's heart pounded in his chest, his breath ragged, but he kept running. He had no weapon except the wrench at his side, yet he refused to slow down. They reached the outer ring, where the dome stretched above them. The stars glowed brightly, uncaring of the chaos below. Ryan stumbled to a stop, gasping for breath. "We cannot keep running forever," he said. "No," Alara agreed, her eyes sharp. "We cannot." The guards spread out behind them, forming a line that cut off the exits. The leader stepped forward, his voice amplified by his helmet. "Princess Alara, you cannot escape. Come with us, and no harm will come to the human." Ryan's grip tightened on his wrench. He had expected them to call her name, but hearing it aloud in the open filled him with dread. Everyone in the area now knew who she was. Whispers spread quickly among the crowd, and people began to back away, leaving Ryan and Alara exposed. Alara stood tall, her hood falling back to reveal her silver eyes. "You speak lies," she said firmly. "You will harm him whether I yield or not. That is your way." The leader raised his weapon. "Then you give us no choice." Before he could fire, Ryan moved. He swung his wrench with all his strength, striking the weapon from the soldier's hand. The sudden act surprised them all, giving Alara just enough time to grab the weapon and fire a burst of light toward the ground. The blast created a blinding flash, forcing their enemies to shield their eyes. "Come," Alara shouted. They dashed into another corridor, the sound of shouts and running boots chasing them. Ryan's heart raced, but a strange energy surged inside him. He was not trained. He was not skilled, but he had stood against them, even if only for a moment. He realized then that humans were not as weak as others believed. They turned corner after corner until they reached a docking bay filled with small crafts. Alara pointed to one. "That one is fast enough. We can escape if we reach it." But before they could move, more soldiers entered from the other side. They were trapped between two groups, their weapons aimed and ready. Ryan looked at Alara. "We are surrounded." Her eyes narrowed. "Then we do not run. We fight." Ryan almost laughed. "Fight? With what?" "I have a wrench," Alara placed her hand on the glowing coin she had given him days before. It pulsed brighter, then split open to reveal a hidden handle. With a flick, the small coin unfolded into a blade of light, its edges humming with energy. She handed it to him. "You now have more than a wrench," she said. Ryan stared at the weapon in awe, the glow reflecting in his eyes. It felt strange in his hands, heavy yet balanced. as if it had been waiting for him all along. The soldiers closed in, shouting orders. Alara raised her own weapon, a sleek pistol of alien design. "Stay close to me," she said. The first shots rang out, beams of light striking the walls around them. Ryan ducked. His heart hammering, a soldier lunged at him, and without thinking, he swung the blade. The light cut through the enemy's weapon, sending sparks across the floor. Ryan stepped back, shocked at his own action, but there was no time to think. Another soldier attacked, and again Ryan swung, this time forcing the enemy to retreat beside him. Alara moved with the precision of someone trained since childhood. Every shot she fired struck true, disabling weapons and forcing enemies back. Yet even with her skill, the numbers against them were overwhelming. Ryan gritted his teeth. He was no warrior, but he could not let her fight alone. He blocked strikes, pushed back attackers, and used every bit of his strength to hold the line. The soldiers grew frustrated, shouting at each other as the fight dragged on longer than expected. Finally, Alara fired a shot at a fuel tank near the bay wall. The explosion shook the ground, sending fire and smoke across the chamber. The soldiers stumbled in the chaos, their formation breaking. "Now," Alara shouted together. They ran to the small craft she had pointed out earlier. Ryan jumped inside, and Alara took the pilot's seat. With a swift motion, she powered the engines, and the ship roared to life. The docking doors opened just as the soldiers regained their footing, firing wildly at the fleeing ship. Beams of light struck the hull, but the craft pushed forward, engines blazing. The moment they cleared the station, the stars opened before them. The ship soared into the vast black, leaving the chaos behind. Ryan sank into his seat, his chest heaving, the glowing blade still in his hand. That was not running, he said between breaths. That was surviving. Alara glanced at him, her silver eyes shining with both pride and relief. That was more than surviving. That was standing. You showed them that humans cannot be broken so easily. Ryan looked at the blade again, then at her. "I never asked for this fight, but now that it has found me, I will not step aside." Alara smiled faintly. "Then you are not only a mechanic, you are my ally, outside." The stars stretched endlessly, and the hunt was far from over. But for the first time, Ryan felt ready. The pursuit had begun, and he would not run from it anymore. The stolen craft cut through the darkness of space, its engines glowing faintly as it left the station far behind. Ryan sat in silence, still gripping the glowing blade Alara had given him. His chest rose and fell heavily with each breath, but his eyes stayed sharp. He was no longer just a mechanic watching the stars from behind glass. He had fought, he had survived, and now he was flying with a princess whose enemies stretched across the stars. Alara guided the ship steadily, her hands sure on the controls. Her silver eyes glimmered against the light of the panels. She looked calm, but Ryan could sense the storm inside her. She had chosen not to surrender, not to return to her people in chains. Instead, she had chosen to fight, and by doing so, she had dragged him deeper into her world. "Where are we going?" Ryan asked. Alara kept her gaze on the view ahead. "To a place where I can call for aid. There are still those loyal to me, and to my family. But we cannot reach them without facing what stands in our way." Ryan leaned back, staring at the stars outside. "You make it sound like war." "It is war," she replied simply. "Even if no one has declared it, my rivals seek to weaken the throne. If they succeed, the Dominion will fall into chaos. That is what they want. And that is what I must stop." Ryan rubbed his forehead. "And you think I can help in that?" Alara turned to him, her voice steady but soft. "I do not think it. I know it. You carry something no weapon or army can match. You carry the spirit of a human who refuses to give in. That spirit is stronger than you realize." Ryan looked at the blade in his hand. It hummed faintly, its glow alive. He was still unsure if he deserved her trust. Yet the way she spoke left little room for doubt. The ship soon reached a desolate moon, its surface covered in jagged rock and silent craters. Alara landed in a hidden bay carved into the cliffs. Inside the cavern were other small ships and a few figures waiting in the shadows. As the ramp lowered, Alara stepped out first. her posture regal yet firm. The figures knelt slightly in respect. One of them, a tall alien with bronze skin and golden eyes, spoke. "Princess Alara, we feared you were lost." "I am not lost," she said, her voice clear. "I have returned with someone who stood with me when others fled. This is Ryan, a human of the frontier." The alien's eyes studied Ryan with quiet curiosity. "A human? Few of your kind stand beside royalty." "Few are asked," Ryan answered, lifting his chin. The alien gave a small smile. "Perhaps. You are different." The group led them deeper into the cavern, where holographic maps glowed across the table, ships, fleets, and enemy positions flickered in light. Ryan felt out of place among all the symbols of war, yet he listened carefully. As Alara spoke, "Our enemies know I live. They will send fleets to capture me, and they will not care how many innocents they harm to achieve it. We cannot wait for them to strike. We must choose where to stand." The bronze-skinned alien gestured to the map. "There's a relay station on the edge of Dominion space. If we hold it, we can send a message to loyal fleets. But if the enemy takes it first, we will be cut off. Then we must reach it before they do." Alara decided. Ryan frowned. "But we are only a handful. How do we stand against fleets?" Alara looked at him. "With more than ships, with courage, with unity. Sometimes a few voices can spark an entire fire." The next hours passed in planning. The Loyalists prepared their small fleet, readying weapons and shields. Ryan stayed close to Alara, watching as she gave commands with calm authority. Yet when the others were busy, she leaned close to him and spoke quietly. "Are you afraid?" she asked. Ryan nodded. "Yes, more than I can say." Her eyes softened. "So am I. But fear does not mean weakness. Fear means we know the risk, and still we stand. That is what gives us strength." When the time came, their fleet launched from the cavern, engines roaring as they cut into the void. Ryan sat beside Alara in the cockpit of her craft, the glowing blade at his side. His stomach churned with unease, but his resolve held firm. Hours later, they arrived at the relay station. It floated in space like a metal fortress, its towers blinking with faint lights. But as they approached, enemy ships appeared from the dark, sleek and sharp, their weapons glowing red. "They are already here," Alara said, her voice steady. The Loyalist fleet formed a line, ready for battle. Ryan gripped the seat, his heart racing. He was no pilot, but he trusted her. He had to. The battle began in a storm of fire and light. Enemy ships surged forward, their beams cutting through the dark. Alara moved with skill, weaving their craft through blasts while returning fire with precision. Ryan watched the chaos unfold, his hand gripping the blade, though he could not use it here. At one point, an enemy ship broke through the line, heading straight for the relay station. Ryan's breath caught. If they destroyed it, everything would be lost. "Alara, that one," he shouted. "I see it," she answered, pulling the craft into pursuit. The engines roared as they closed the gap. At the last moment, Alara fired, striking the enemy's engines. The ship spun out of control, colliding with debris before exploding in a burst of light. Ryan exhaled in relief. "You did it. We did it," she corrected firmly. The battle raged on. The Loyalists fought with all their strength, and though they were outnumbered, they held their ground. Ryan realized that what Alara had said was true. It was not only ships or weapons that gave them strength, it was the will to stand together. Finally, the enemy began to retreat, their fleet pulling back into the shadows. The Loyalists cheered as the relay station remained intact. They had won, not with numbers, but with resolve. As the noise of battle faded, Ryan looked at Alara. Her silver eyes met his, glowing with both pride and gratitude. "You see now," she said softly, "when we stand together, even the impossible can bend." Ryan nodded. He still felt the weight of fear in his chest, but also a new fire. He was no longer just following her, he was fighting with her, and that made all the difference. The stars stretched endless beyond the relay, but for the first time, Ryan believed humanity's place among them was not small, it was strong. As long as they stood side by side, the stars lay quiet after the battle. The Loyalist fleet drifted near the relay station, their ships battered but still standing. Fires burned on some hulls, sparks floated into the void. But the enemy had retreated. The relay was safe, for now. They had one dot inside Alara's craft. The silence pressed on Ryan's ears. His heart was still pounding, his hands still shaking from the fight, but he felt something deeper than fear. He felt pride. For the first time in his life, he had stood against forces far greater than himself, and he had not been broken. Across from him, Alara sat at the controls, her silver eyes glowing faintly against the dim light. She looked calm, but Ryan could see the exhaustion in her face. Even so, she carried herself with the same strength she had shown since the moment he met her. "We did it," Ryan said at last. His voice was low, almost in disbelief. "Yes," Alara answered, her eyes softening. "But this is only one step. The war is not over. My enemies will return, stronger than before." Ryan leaned back, staring at the stars. "Then we will be ready." The words surprised even him. Only days ago, he had been a mechanic fixing engines, thinking of nothing beyond the next day's work. Now he was speaking as if he were part of a fight across the stars. Yet it felt right. He could not turn back. Not anymore. Later, the Loyalist leaders gathered in the station's command hall. The bronze-skinned alien with golden eyes bowed slightly to Alara. "Your courage has given us hope. Many believe you lost, but now they will hear of your stand. The people will rise again." Alara nodded. "Hope is our greatest weapon. Spread the word. Let them know the princess fights still, and she does not fight alone." She glanced at Ryan, her gaze steady. Some of the Loyalists looked uncertain. "A human," one of them murmured. "Can he truly stand in battles of the Dominion?" Ryan stepped forward before Alara could speak. "I am no soldier," he admitted. "I do not know your wars or your ways. But I know this. I will not watch while others suffer. I will not step aside when there is a chance to fight for what is right. If you think I am weak because I am human, then watch me prove you wrong." The hall grew quiet. Then the bronze-skinned leader nodded slowly. "Perhaps that is what we need. Not only bloodlines or titles, but hearts that refuse to bow." The meeting ended with plans for the next stand. But Ryan and Alara slipped away to the quiet of the observation deck. The glass stretched above them, showing the endless stars. For a long while, they said nothing. At last, Alara broke the silence. "Do you regret it, that you chose to stay by my side?" Ryan thought about her question. He remembered the life he had left behind, the sound of tools, the hum of engines, the peace of an ordinary day. It was safe, simple, in his own. Yet when he compared it to this, to the fire in his chest, to the bond he felt beside her, he shook his head. "No," he said firmly, "I do not regret it. Maybe I should. Maybe I should wish I had walked away that first night. But I do not. I would not change it." Her lips curved into a small smile. "You surprised me, Ryan. The night we met, I told myself it would be only one night, a chance to rest, to hide, before I moved on alone. Yet you would not let go, or perhaps I would not let go of you." Ryan met her gaze. "It was never just one night. Not for me." The air between them grew quiet again. But this time it was not heavy. It was full, warm, as if something unspoken tied them together. The following days passed with preparation. Messages spread from the relay station to distant systems, reaching those who still held loyalty to Alara's house. Small fleets and scattered outposts began to stir, answering the call. The princess was alive, and she was not alone. Ryan trained with the glowing blade Alara had given him. At first, he swung clumsily, his movements unsteady, but Alara guided him with patience, correcting his stance, teaching him to move with rhythm and focus. He was no master, but with each passing day, his strikes grew sharper, his steps more sure. "You learn quickly," Alara said one evening, watching him block a strike from a training drone. Ryan grinned, panting. "I had a good teacher." For the first time since he met her, she laughed, a soft, genuine sound. It was brief, but it filled the room like sunlight. Ryan knew then that he would fight not only for survival, not only for duty, but for her. Soon, news arrived that the enemy was gathering again, this time in greater force. The Loyalists prepared for another stand. Stronger now with more allies, but still outmatched in numbers. On the night before the coming battle, Ryan and Alara stood once more on the observation deck. The stars stretched endless, cold and brilliant. Tomorrow will be harder, Alara said quietly. I know, Ryan answered. There may be no return. He looked at her, his voice steady. Then we face it together. She turned to him, her silver eyes shining. You are more than I expected, Ryan. When I said it would be one night, I believe I was sparing you. I believe I was sparing myself. But you have become part of this fight, part of me. Ryan reached out, placing his hand gently over hers. Then whatever happens, I will not let go. Not now, not ever. For a moment, the weight of war fell away. For a moment, there was only the two of them, standing against the endless stars. The alarms soon broke the silence, calling them to their ships. The enemy was near. The final stand awaited. But as they walked side by side toward the battle, Ryan felt no fear strong enough to turn him back. He had chosen his place. He had chosen her. And in that choice, he had discovered something greater than survival, greater than war. It had never been just one night. It had become a bond that would carry them through whatever came next. A bond between a human and a princess who refused to bow. Together, they stepped into the light of the stars, ready for whatever waited beyond.